Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Stormworks. We are back. We are working on our flying carrier once again, and we're going to be a little all over the place in this episode, but that's all right. There's a few things I want to get done before we get into a lot more of the more detailed fun stuff. So what we are going to do right now, well, what we are doing right now is I am going to basically just wrap this thing in as many wing blocks as possible. That's going to do a couple things for us that'll help us lighten the aircraft, which is always a good thing when you're flying. And then the other thing that it will help us do is also require less thrust. So if you were unaware, the lift blocks, or these wings, actually they do produce lift in the direction that the arrow is facing, which is kind of why you do want to pay a little bit of attention to which direction those are facing. This thing is maybe a little bit bigger than big, but I guess because of that, I'm not too worried about the arrows. I am trying to shed as much weight off this plane as I possibly can, and the reason I want to do this now is because these blocks are big and bulky, and if we need to delete them going forward, it's not a big deal. It's just going to be a lot easier to place much more of them now and have to remove them than the other way around. So I would like to do this first, and I'm just placing two and then rotating them, as you can see, just trying to make sure that we've got an even balance of thrust or lift pretty much everywhere. And you'll notice that I don't really care if it's facing up or down. I again am just trying to lighten it up. So we're going to go ahead and do this all over, and then we're going to actually strap some rockets into the plane quick. We're going to go for a test flight, and then the second half of the episode we'll work more on doing some of the control surfaces, trying to make it actually flyable, and then I'll probably have a small fun little episode on building the giant turbofans that we're going to have on this plane, which that'll be super fun. I think you guys will like that episode. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and keep placing these wing blocks all over. I do have a little bit of a channel update for you guys that we should get out of the way. We are going to go down to 2 videos a week for probably a month or so. I have a lot of travel in my personal life coming up for work, and it's just going to be basically impossible with the schedule. I'm only going to have, a couple days home here or there, and it's not going to be enough time for me to take care of real life things and then also record, a week or two worth of videos for you guys. So I will make sure that you guys get a, regular schedule of videos. We're probably going to go to Saturday, Tuesday videos. I am going to obviously keep doing both of these series, but I do have to slow it down just a little bit for personal reasons, so I do apologize. But once I'm traveling a lot less, I'll come back and we'll go back to 3 videos a week schedule. And I'll try to get the build challenge stuff out for you guys sooner than later. But for the meantime, if you do want a head start on that, there are some templates floating around in my Discord down below. Now, enough of that. We are just going to take this thing and fly right away, because why not? I didn't want to bore you guys with 20 minutes of us placing wings. You guys can see I left them all purple. There are a lot of them, so we shed a lot of weight off this plane. And I added a bunch of control surfaces, and look at that. We are flying. And yeah, pretty much the only thing now is just to get some actual engines on it and get it powered by, not rockets. And I hope you guys can tell in the video, we really do not need much speed at all to get this thing in the air. Now, obviously, that'll be a little bit different once we get the fuel on this thing. I will say right now we are at 130,000 liters of fluids on board, and I still need to add more. So with the classic me putting way more fuel than things will ever need in this game, that's a heads up, guys. 100,000 liters of jet. Right now we have about 30,000 liters of diesel, and then actually, sorry, I lied. Probably closer to 140,000, because then we have 5,000 liters of fresh, and the Blackwater tank is full just for testing purposes. When I release the plane, obviously it won't be, but yeah, a lot of weight, and you guys can see we're just flying around. But I think that's pretty much good enough for this clip. I think we are going to head over into the next little video recording that I have, and we're going to start working on actually adjusting the controls a little bit better. Now, I will say we're going to jump in the timeline a little bit. There is a making of the jet engine in between now and then. A little work was done on that, but I'm going to do a separate video on me making the jet engine, because I recorded it separately and I got it to fly on its own without the plane. So kind of fun. If you guys want, I probably can post the giant turbofan on the workshop, but you'll have to let me know when that video comes out. And I lied. We are going to work on the landing gear, because that needs to get done. And I am really concerned about how many wheels we're going to need on this thing, just because of how large it is. And I will say it'll change, just like pretty much everything we do. But I did want to get this done, especially because this is another one of those things that I always find it very, very annoying to build around, so I'd rather just build it first. So we are just going to try to set up some wheel bogies out here, and I'm just going to do a real simple setup, and then on the back we're going to play around with a couple different ideas that the back will change quite a bit over the timeline of us building this. But for now, I just want to have these two separate bogies that come down. We're going to put suspension on them, and then in this episode they won't turn, but we will make them turn later on. So there will be steering in the nose gear, and that will make things a lot easier. But I am, again, really worried about the landing gear on this vehicle. I think right now I have 12 sets of wheels in the back, and that's, again, sets. So that's, the wheel bogies, that's 12 of those in the rear, and then 4 in the front, and I think sometimes it still breaks under its own weight. But that is a problem for future me, which I will regret making a problem for future me. But I also don't really have the wherewithal to continue messing with it right now. So it does work. It works on a runway, and you have to be a good pilot. You can't just slam the thing in the runway. But other than that, it works fine. It's not really too problematic. It does fold up nice, and so I'm not like it's not unfunctioning or dysfunctioning, I guess. But there you go. So it does turn. The design will change. We're going to get some suspension in there too. But yeah, that's kind of the general idea for the front. Obviously can't turn it all the way, but that is plenty of angle to rotate this big beast, and it should be good enough. So really the idea is we just need to get in the air. That's kind of my goal right now, is we don't really need the rest of the wheels to kind of work correctly. I just need this thing to get into the air without, just scraping the body on the ground. So that's kind of what we're working with. Kind of funny, kind of a stupid benchmark, but yeah, that's what we're going to go for. So let me see if we can get some suspension in here, and we'll see if we can actually prop this thing up under suspension. That'll be the other kind of issue with this, but I think we got a lot of space down here, so I think there's a lot of room for us to come up with a good solution. I'm not really too concerned about it. Looks like that'll work out for us. Obviously, that makes the landing gear a little bit bigger, but the extra block of extension, not a bad thing anyways. It helps get the plane a little bit off the runway, and that helps you guys to prevent ground strikes and that kind of thing. I will say later on, I will put some wheels on the ramp of the plane just in case you do tail strike the plane on takeoff. That way you won't just smash it to bits. But again, you got to be a semi competent pilot to not break this thing. So this thing is going to fly a little bit more realistic than most planes in Stormworks. You're going to be able to actually hit it with glide slopes, and your speed and your trim and all that kind of stuff is really going to matter a lot more. You're going to actually be able to stall it. But with it being such a heavy, large aircraft, you need to, obviously set it down on the runway as gently as possible. Otherwise, you are just going to blow everything up. Now, this is my miserable attempt at a landing gear plan. I was trying to do this with as few physics bodies as possible, and I think that's just not really a great approach. But we're going to mess around with ideas here. You guys can kind of just pick my brain and see the thought process I had while trying to do this. But I will say, ultimately, it's not going to rotate this way. There are going to be a lot more physics bodies in this. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, unfortunately. All right, well, you guys can see we sort of got something going. This is the plan that I think we are going to go along with for the wheels, but obviously we've got to kind of work some things out there, bumping into each other, you guys saw there. So we're either going to have to space them out further or kind of change the shape of these arms. I would like to keep them as close together as possible, but that's not probably going to work. So what I end up doing is, yeah, that's definitely not going to work. What I end up doing is spacing them out, and then I actually offset the outside and the inside wheels, so there's less of a gap between each wheel, and that way it makes it look a little bit more full than it is. In real life, you probably would need an astronomical amount of landing gear like this for a plane that's this heavy, especially if you were going to have other planes on top or just sitting on the wings, not supporting their own weight. The other thing too is you'd probably crush most runways, but that's a whole other issue that does not exist in this game, so we're not going to really worry about it. But I do like this kind of idea where they just fold up and down like that with a little trailing arm, and I think that offers us a little bit of suspension too, which is nice. And I think we're just going to go with this. We'll space them out, like I said, and I think that will kind of be a good plan for the landing gear. Obviously, we'll have to come back and tweak it, but I think that this is probably going to be one of the more straightforward, simple solutions for us, and that's kind of what I would like to keep. So now that we have that all figured out, I think that this is a good time to maybe switch, and we'll go work on the fuel system a little bit. So I did mention we're jumping the timeline. You guys will see there's our giant fans on the back there, so we are ready to fly with actual engines, but I do want to get some fuel tanks in here. And so we do have a fuel tank right in front of the landing gear right now. That is just basic fuel tank that'll get moved around later, and then we have the two white ones right there. So we're going to need to obviously plumb those up. But that is not going to be too hard. It's really just the two engines. There's not a lot of engines on this thing. The bigger issue would be doing cross feed and all of that kind of good stuff, but we'll get into that down the road. For now, I'm just going to get a very, very basic plumbing setup done, and you guys will notice that there's two pipes there. That's because the engines do have a built-in fire suppression, and we'll have to figure that out. But for now, I do want to have a way to basically test if the airplane can fly under its own power without infinite electric or fuel on, and that will kind of be a good gauge as to whether we have powerful enough engines or not. But yeah, that's basically the entire goal. I can tell you right now, we do have powerful enough engines, and the wing blocks definitely help that whole situation. But again, not super necessary. I do recommend you throw a couple on your builds if you do want to build them. But I guess we can talk about, while I'm doing this boring piping in the background, we could talk about the parasite fighters a little bit. So I did mention you will be able to build your own parasite fighters in the build challenge. There is a template that's out. The template is quite a lot larger than the microfighter for the other carrier I built is, which is nice. You guys should be able to kind of have a lot more freedom with that, build some better stuff. Now, I will say the docking is not going to be necessarily simple. Basically, you're going to have to connect to a normal connector on an arm that will bring you up and then lock you into a hard point. You're going to have to jump through the cockpit. So it's kind of a complex design, and I know a lot of you probably wish it was different, but I will tell you right now, it's not going to change. I'm not going to really automate it. That's part of the build challenge. It's part of the fun in my mind. I will say you guys are going to get a laser beacon. So if you have not used those are really useful. You should be able to hook a laser point sensor right into your control surfaces and have an auto guidance system for that. But other than that, I kind of want to see what you guys come up with to make docking easier for yourself. It's not something that I want to automate on this side of the plane, and the reason I don't want to do that is because if we add a ton of physics bodies moving arms to each one of these, lag's going to become a problem very, very quickly. But the other problem too is I want a very simple mechanical solution, and I want it because that gives you guys the options to do a lot more stuff. I don't want it to be, hey, here's the system, this is what you use, and there's no real design freedom from there. So I'm looking forward to seeing the creative ideas that you guys have. But for now, it's just going to be, if you guys Google the CL1201, it'll be docking kind of like that style, where it's a giant hard point that goes over the cockpit of the plane, and you crawl through the hard point into the plane. So we're going to have that. I'll also have a really large docking spot on the roof, something for more, I talked about this in the last episode, but something more like for bombers or a cargo plane. And and then the rest of this, it's just a bunch of big open space that we're going to have to figure out how to fill out. So I don't really know what we're going to do with all the spaces. If you guys have any suggestions for that, definitely leave me down comments down below. And I will read all of those. I try to read all of them. I try to reply to most of them too. But yeah, if you guys have any good ideas as to what we can put in here, let me know. I definitely would like some ideas. We've got a little bit too much space, and right now I want to do a good full interior, but I also don't want to just do the same old. I would like to add some different things than a normal ship, I guess. We don't really need the same things, considering this is flying, and that was or the other things I build are a boat. But I will say I do want to add some life rafts and that kind of thing, just in case of an emergency. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions as to how we can cram the inside of this, definitely let me know down below. But I think that is going to be just about it for this episode. We got all the piping done, and I am just labeling this thing. And here we go. We're about to go ahead and take off. You guys will see this thing in action a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this episode, guys. So if you made it to the end, as always, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel out a ton. If you guys like this series, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Discord down below if you haven't already. I will catch you all in the next episode. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.